The text message was simple. Come to this address. Do not tell anyone. This is your opportunity. Salam Tesfaye believed her stepmother was finally helping her get a better job in Seoul. She dressed nicely, took the bus to Gangnam, and walked into what she thought was a business meeting. Instead, she walked into a trap. Within 20 minutes, Selim learned 3 things that shattered her world. 1. Her stepmother Almaz had borrowed millions of won from dangerous people. 2. Almaz could not pay it back. 3. Almaz had offered Selim as payment instead. Now she stood face to face with Kang Min-jae, the feared Korean Mafia boss who held her fate in his hands. Selim's expected chains. She expected cruelty. She expected to become property. What she got instead shocked her more than the betrayal itself. Before we dive into what happened next, I need to know if you are with me on this journey. Because Selim's story is not just about survival. It is about finding your worth when everyone else treats you like you have none. If you want to see how she goes from being traded like property to taking control of her own destiny, then subscribe right now. Hit that button, because this story is going to take us places you will not expect, and trust me, you do not want to miss a single moment. Now, let's get back to Selim and the choice that changed everything. The moment Salam Tesfaye understood what was happening, her legs nearly gave out. "What do you mean I'm supposed to stay here?" she asked, looking between the 2 men blocking the door. Neither of them smiled. Neither of them moved. The older one, wearing all black with a scar running down his jaw, pulled out his phone and showed her a photo. It was a document. Her name was on it. Her passport number. Her address in Seoul. And at the bottom, a single line in Korean that she could barely read but understood enough to make her stomach drop. Payment received for outstanding debt, 30 million won. "There must be a mistake," Selim said, her voice shaking. "I don't owe anyone money. I work 2 jobs. I pay for everything myself." The scarred man put his phone away. "The debt is not yours. It belongs to Almaz Tesfaye." Selim's breath caught. "Almaz, her stepmother. What did she do?" Selim whispered. "She borrowed money she could not pay back. And when the time came to settle accounts, she offered you instead." The words hit Selim like a punch to the chest. Offered you instead. Like she was a piece of furniture. Like she was something that could be traded, bought, sold. This could not be real. This was Seoul, South Korea, not some crime movie. People did not just get handed over to pay debts. There were laws, there were police. But then she remembered the phone call from 3 days ago. Almaz had sounded strange. Too sweet, too concerned. She had asked Selim to meet someone, a businessman who could help her get a better job. She had given Selim an address in Gangnam, told her to dress nicely, told her this was a great opportunity. Selim had believed her. Like an idiot, she had believed her. Now she was standing in a private room somewhere she did not recognize, with 2 men who looked like they had never smiled in their entire lives, being told she was payment for a debt. "I want to leave," Selim said, forcing strength into her voice. "Right now." The scarred man tilted his head. "You can discuss that with him." "With who?" The door behind them opened. Selim turned and her heart nearly stopped. The man who walked in was tall, probably in his early 30s, with dark hair styled back and eyes that looked like they could see straight through a person. He wore a black coat over a simple shirt, nothing flashy, but everything about him screamed danger. Not the loud kind, the quiet kind. The kind that made people step aside without being asked. He looked at Selim for a long moment, then turned to the 2 men. Out. They left without a word. The door closed, and Selim was alone with him. Her pulse hammered in her ears. Every instinct told her to run, but her legs would not move. She forced herself to stand straight, to meet his eyes even though everything in her wanted to look away. "Sit," he said, gesturing to the chair behind her. "I would rather stand." His eyebrow lifted, just slightly. "Suit yourself." He moved to the other side of the room and poured himself a glass of water from a pitcher on the table. He did not look at her while he drank. He did not say anything. The silence stretched until Selim could not take it anymore. "Are you the one they are talking about?" she asked. "The one my stepmother owes money to." He set the glass down. "The debt came to me, yes. And you think I am supposed to just stay here because of that?" "No." Selim blinked. "No, I do not accept people as payment for debts," he said simply. "That is not how I do business." Relief flooded through her so fast she almost felt dizzy. "Then I can leave?" "You can," he said. "But you should hear the rest first." The relief died. "The rest of what?" He walked closer, stopping a few feet away. His voice was calm. Almost too calm. "Your stepmother did not just borrow money from one source. She borrowed from 4 different groups. 3 of them are still looking for payment. And now that your name is attached to this debt, they know who you are, where you live, where you work. Seeslam's hands turned cold. You are lying. I do not need to lie, he said. Check your phone. She pulled her phone from her pocket with shaking hands. 3 missed calls, 2 voicemails, both from numbers she did not recognize. She played the first one, a man's voice, speaking awkward English. Miss Tesfaye, you need to call us back. We need to discuss your mother's debt. If you do not call by tomorrow, we will visit you personally. The second message was worse. No words, just breathing. Then a click. Seelam's throat went dry. The man in front of her watched her carefully. If you walk out of here right now, they will find you within 2 days, maybe less. So what? Seelam's voice cracked. I am supposed to stay here instead with you? Temporarily, he said. Until I find out who set this up and make sure you are no longer a target, and I am just supposed to trust you? No, he said. You are supposed to make a smart choice. Seelam wanted to scream. She wanted to cry. She wanted to call the police and her friends and anyone who could fix this nightmare. But deep down, she knew the truth. If powerful people wanted to find her, they would. Seoul was big, but not big enough to disappear. Why would you help me? She asked quietly. You do not even know me. Something flickered across his face, too fast to read. Let's just say I owe someone a debt of my own. Before Selam could ask what that meant, his phone buzzed. He glanced at it, then looked back at her. I have a meeting. You can stay in the room upstairs while you decide. No one will bother you. If you want to leave, the door will not be locked. He started toward the door. Wait, Selam called. I do not even know your name. He paused, glancing back over his shoulder. Kang Min-jae. Then he was gone. Selam stood there, alone in the quiet room, her mind spinning in 1,000 directions. 2 hours ago, she had been stocking shelves at the convenience store where she worked part-time. Her biggest worry had been finishing her essay before the deadline. Now she was standing in a stranger's building, being told she was in danger because her stepmother had sold her like property. She thought about her father. If he were still alive, none of this would have happened. He would have protected her. He would have kept Almaz away. But he was gone, and Selam had spent the last 3 years trying to survive on her own, only to end up here. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You have 24 hours to contact us, or we will come to your apartment. Her hand shook so badly she almost dropped the phone. Maybe Kang Min-jae was dangerous. Maybe staying here was a terrible idea. But right now, he was the only person offering her a way out. She took a deep breath and headed for the stairs. The room upstairs was nothing like she expected. It was simple, clean. A bed, a desk, a small bathroom attached, no bars on the windows, no locks on the outside of the door. It looked like a guest room, not a prison. Selam sat on the edge of the bed and put her face in her hands. How did her life turn into this? She thought back to 6 months ago when Almaz had called her crying, saying she needed money for medicine. Selam had sent everything she had saved. Then 2 months later, Almaz needed money for rent, then for food, then for bills. Every time Selam had sent it, because what else could she do? Almaz was her only family left, but it was never enough. It was never going to be enough. And now this. A soft knock on the door made her jump. Come in, she said, wiping her eyes quickly. A woman stepped inside. She was probably in her late 20s with short hair and sharp eyes. She carried a bag in one hand. I am Choi Yuna. Min-jae asked me to bring you some things. She set the bag on the desk. Inside were clothes, toiletries, a phone charger. He said you might stay for a few days, Yuna continued. If you need anything else, just ask. Selam stared at the bag. Why is he doing this? Yuna's expression softened, just a little. Because he does not like people being treated like objects. But he is a criminal, is he not? Yuna laughed, short and dry. Depends on who you ask. But yeah, he is not exactly running a charity. She headed for the door, then paused. For what it is worth, if Min-jae says he will protect you, he will. He does not make promises he cannot keep. Then she left, and Selam was alone again. She spent the next hour pacing the room, trying to figure out what to do. She could leave. She could go to the police. She could run. But where? Her apartment was not safe. The people leaving messages knew where she lived. And even if she ran, where would she go? Back to Ethiopia? To Almaz, who had caused all of this? No. She could not go back, not to that. So what choice did she have? She heard footsteps in the hallway. Min-jae appeared in the doorway, still wearing his coat. He looked tired. Have you decided? Selam met his eyes. If I stay, I want answers. I want to know who my stepmother borrowed from. I want to know how to fix this. And I want to be involved. I am not just going to sit in a room and wait for you to solve my problems. A faint smile crossed his face. Fair enough. And I am not your prisoner. If I want to leave, I leave. Agreed. Selim took a breath. Then I will stay for now. Min-jae nodded once. Good. Get some rest. Tomorrow we start figuring out who is really behind this. He turned to leave. Min-jae? Selim said. He looked back. Thank you. He held her gaze for a moment, something unreadable flickering in his eyes. Then he nodded and walked away. Selim sat back down on the bed, her heart still racing. She had just agreed to stay with a man she did not know, in a world she did not understand, because her stepmother had traded her like she was nothing. But for the first time in 3 years, someone had actually asked her what she wanted, and that was something. The next morning, Selim woke to sunlight streaming through the window. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then it all came rushing back. She got dressed quickly, using the clothes Yuna had brought. They fit perfectly, which was strange. Had they guessed her size? Or had someone been watching her long enough to know? The thought made her skin crawl. When she stepped into the hallway, she found Yuna waiting. Min-jae is downstairs. He wants to talk to you. Selim followed her down a staircase into a large open room. Min-jae sat at a table with another man, younger, with glasses and a laptop open in front of him. Papers were spread everywhere. Min-jae looked up when she entered. This is Park Jin-ho. He handles information. Jin-ho gave her a friendly smile. Nice to meet you. Sorry it is under these circumstances. Selim sat down across from them. What did you find? Min-jae slid a folder toward her. Your stepmother borrowed money from 4 different sources over the last 8 months. 2 of them are legitimate loan companies. The other 2 are not. Selim opened the folder. The numbers made her head spin. 30 million won, 20 million, 15 million. It went on and on. How did she even get this much? Selim whispered. She used your father's name, Jin-ho said gently, and yours. She told lenders that you were working in Korea and would help pay it back. Selim's stomach twisted. I never agreed to that. We know, Min-jae said. That is why this whole thing is illegal. But the people she borrowed from do not care about legality. They just want their money. So what do we do? Min-jae leaned back in his chair. We find out who connected her to these lenders in the first place. Because your stepmother did not just stumble into this on her own. Someone set it up. Selim frowned. What do you mean? Look at the timing, Jin-ho said, turning his laptop toward her. All 4 loans were taken out within 2 months of each other, and all of them have connections to Korean businesses operating in Ethiopia. That is not a coincidence. A chill ran down Selim's spine. You think someone planned this? I think someone wanted you here, Min-jae said quietly. And they used your stepmother to make it happen. Selim's mind raced. Who would do that, and why? Before she could ask, the door burst open. The scarred man from yesterday rushed in. We have a problem. Min-jae stood immediately. What is it? One of the loan groups just showed up at Selim's apartment. They are looking for her. Selim's heart dropped. Did they hurt anyone? No, but they left a message. He handed Min-jae a phone. On the screen was a photo of Selim's apartment door. Someone had spray-painted words across it in red. We know you are hiding. We will find you. Selim felt the room tilt. Min-jae's jaw tightened. Doubles the security. I want eyes on every location connected to her. And find out who gave them her address. The scarred man nodded and left. Min-jae turned to Selim. You are staying here, no arguments. Selim wanted to argue anyway, but the fear crawling up her throat made it impossible to speak. Someone had been to her apartment. Someone was actively looking for her. This was real. This was really happening. Hey, Min-jae said, his voice softer. I meant what I said. You are safe here. Selim looked up at him. How can you promise that? Because I do not lose. It should have sounded arrogant. But the way he said it, calm and certain, made her believe him. Jin-ho closed his laptop. I will keep digging into the loan origins. If someone set this up, they left a trail. Min-jae nodded. Good, let me know the second you find anything. As Jin-ho gathered his things and left, Selim sat frozen in her chair, staring at the photo on the phone. Her whole life had been turned upside down in less than 24 hours. And whoever was behind this was still out there. Min-jae sat back down across from her. I know this is overwhelming. That is an understatement, Selim muttered. But you are not alone in this. I will find out who did this, and I will make sure they can never touch you again. Why? The question burst out of her.